Welcome to Hope in the Future with Pastor Ben Foxworth. Check in with us here regularly to hear God's words of instruction and encouragement.
Today we're going to revisit one of our preschool memories. Back when you were an itty-bitty preschool or toddler, one of the first Bible stories you learned was David and Goliath. And you know, I was sitting here thinking about that. In all the years of ministry, I have never preached on David and Goliath. So you guys are going to get the kindergarten version of the Wright story of David and Goliath. We're familiar with the story. Big bad Philistine, little David. Big bad Philistine weapon, little David with the 5 stones. David wins, Goliath goes, and Israel wins. And that's the Reader's Digest version. I love Reader's Digest. So if you'll turn to Matthew, you find it in Matthew, you're in good shape. Turn to 1 Samuel 17 and just hold your Bible there. I want to point out a few things that hit me, and as I was rereading this story not too long ago. About David, 5 points. First thing about David and Goliath is Goliath. Goliath was real. We live in a day today where we don't like the thought of evil. We have various ways we like to deal with the concept of evil. Evil is a figment of our imagination. Evil is a misunderstanding within our thinking. Evil is simply the absence of good, and we can educate it and evil will go away. Let me tell you, David standing in front of Goliath was not having a vision. He didn't have a figment of his imagination. He didn't have misplaced thinking. He didn't see a being with just enough evil that taking away the good. But here's basically a good person. I just need to be a little educated. No, Goliath was this 9-foot monster. He was a man who personified evil. He was a threat to the kingdom, to the king, and to God. He was real. And you kids cannot see Goliath as anything but real. And he was real enough that he sure scared the people of Israel. He wanted a champion to come out of Israel. Nope. Nobody was going to do it. King Saul wasn't going to do it. The mighty men of King Saul's army were not going to go out there because they saw this real evil monstrosity out there. And how are you going to deal with evil? I'm not sure. You scared them. We need to be afraid in the face of evil, because evil left untended will multiply. Second point, resources for battling evil. Saul had his armor. The people of Israel had limited weapons. But what good were these limited resources against the evil giant, Goliath? And all of a sudden, here popped up this shepherd lad. And he said, I'll go beat him. They laughed. Family mocked him. But he said, no, I can do it. And Saul said, well, you know what? Nobody else is going to do it, so I'll give you a shot at it. Well, here, take my armor. Small David in a grown man's armor. He clanked, he banged, he boomed, and he couldn't move in it. Saul's armor was not the resource that God had for David to use. That would have been fine for Saul to use. But David had resources that he knew how to use, that God had taught him how to use. He was good with a slingshot. He killed lions, he killed bears. What is this Philistine? compared to a lion or a bear. I can do it. Folks, we have resources within us that are unique to us that we need to believe God can use. How many times do we sit there and say, oh my gosh, that's such an awesome task and I don't have what it takes to make it happen. You get in a place and you're overwhelmed by the situation, I just don't know what to do. Your resources are useless because you don't know how to use them. David said, I know what I can do. God taught me. And one thing I point out here, my resources are not necessarily your resources. God individualizes resources for your use and for my use. So just because Matt is able to do something, because God has given him Matt-sized resources. I can do things because I have Ed-sized resources. I don't do any good with Matt's resources, and he won't do any good with my resources. So God has equipped you for the spiritual battle ahead. Third thing I would point out here, you need the right perspective. You are going out in the name of the Lord. Here was the confrontation. Here comes David. No armor, no spear, no sword. Just guy was flipping his little slingshot around like, okay, I'm cool. And Goliath looked at him and said, you've got to be kidding. This is the best you have. The kid's not even a man. What makes you think, little punk, you're going to whip me? Who are you to think you can handle me? And notice his prayer. This is 1 Samuel chapter 17, beginning with verse 45. David said to the Philistine, you come against me, sword and spear and javelin. I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will hand you over to me, and I will strike you down and cut off your head. Today I will give the carcass of the Philistine army to the birds of the air and the beasts of the field, and the whole world will know there is a God in Israel. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword nor spear, but that the Lord uses, but the battle is the Lord, and he will give it to give all of you into my hands, our hands. David saw it as God's battle, God's victory. To God be the glory, great things he has done. That was the key. He knew his resources in his hands were insufficient. But in the hands of the Almighty God of Israel, he couldn't be beat. God had assured him of the victory. He was going out and claiming what God had said was already his to claim. Folks, our danger is we take the victories of God and we make them our own victories. We take the victories of God and give ourselves credit for it. Being a student of church history, I have marveled at some of the great, great churches in the past that no longer exist. They were built around the talent and the resource and the godly ministry of one person. And then when it was done, there was no succession to it. There was no guarantee that the work would continue. When the messenger died, the message died. Think about that. If you drive around here, you occasionally see abandoned churches. Those are the churches of dreams, of people. Why are they closed? I think one of the things is that we lose perspective on who God is and we claim ourselves. Boy, what a wonderful ministry we have here. Boy, it's all built around our pastor, our music ministry, our education ministry. But I have discovered that ministry is not guaranteed to go on when somebody leaves. We probably have a wrong idea that we are indispensable to God's work. Someday, and this has just hit me just here to play with you, I'm playing things to think of right now. Someday, I won't be here. But you know what? The ministry of Windsor Baptist Church should continue. I think of and I've been here, and I've been here enough, I think of the faces that are no longer here. But the ministry went on. God's ministry goes on when we keep our focus on Him. When we lose the focus or we claim it for ourselves, we lose. We set the seed to close things out. Notice, David's thing was, I'm here in the name of the Lord, and God's going to give us the victory, and it'll be to His glory. Not that we are a big significant name, or we have big numbers, or great preaching, or great anything. The hand of the Lord is here when we honor Him, and we exalt Him, and we give Him the glory and praise. It's the easiest thing in the world to take our eyes off of Him. Now, had David taken his eyes off of Him and decided, you know what, I can do this on my own, the kid was toast. Didn't have a chance. Young teenage kid probably against a seasoned 9-foot Philistine warrior. Come on, folks. Anybody here going to put money on David if David's going to take care of himself? I'm not going to do it. But you know what? David went out in the strength of the Lord. And there's a phrase that Jesus said, the gates of hell cannot prevail against the church. Too many times we say, all right, we're going to defend our church. But who's the attacker? Satan is. We need to go out and battle him in his domain. Which brings me to, all right, point 4. Oh, that was a nice, man, I'm proud of myself. That was a nice slide, and I've never seen that one before. When God won the victory through David, David went and he claimed a trophy. He claimed the sword of Goliath, which I'm sure was a pretty good sized piece of weaponry. But he claimed it. He took it out of the hands of the Philistines and put it in the tabernacle of the Lord. This was the monument, the memento, the trophy that God had overcome evil. Have you ever thought of yourself as a trophy? Nah, we don't do that. You know what? We've been taught we are servants and everything. You know, you and I are trophies in God's kingdom. We are the lights in a world of darkness. We are the voices in a world of silence. Ladies and gentlemen, we are the showcases for God. You ever stop to think of your personal testimony as a triumphant statement from God that I won? Where would you be without God? You ever stop to think about that? If I weren't a Christian, if I were not a believer, what would my life have been like? Think about that. God took you out of the kingdom of Satan, put you into His kingdom as His adopted son, and He takes pride in you. You are a showpiece for Him. Now, those of you who are parents, grandparents, how many times have you taken out your wallets and shown the pictures of your children to people? How many people have watched recent Ashley and Chris's wedding pictures? Yeah. Why? Oh, because, ladies and gentlemen, so that's a prideful moment, a proud moment in their lives, and you want to share it with them. I don't know how many pictures I have seen of children and grandchildren in my lifetime. Oh, Ed, Dr. Ed, you got to see this picture of my grandkids. And I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, how many grandkid pictures have I seen in my lifetime? Anytime I'm going to say this and also say this, I have never seen an ugly grandchild. Isn't that the most beautiful grandchild you've ever seen? Because it's meaningful and it's proud for you as a member of the family to show off your family pictures. I was thinking it was 4 or 5 years ago. I was in Wyoming, and we were having a family reunion. And boy, out came the kids and the grandkids pictures. And I sat there and I had to, oh, Eddie, you've got to see this picture. And I'm thinking, okay, beautiful. Now, how is this person related to me? Oh, this is my second cousin 3 times removed. Folks, we take pride in our accomplishments. And God takes pride in your accomplishments. You are His symbols of victory over evil. Your personal testimonies are significant. They really are. We don't do enough as believers to share with each other. We know each other on the surface, probably, but we don't know each other's families. We don't know each other's. We don't know each other as we could and should as family members. But we are testimonies right here. The few of us that are here, we are testimony to that God brought us out of evil and darkness and brought us into light and life. You are God's trophies. Satan may try and dim you, but he can't reclaim you. Matt's sermon on security last week. Now, try and say that one. Folks, you and I are the masterpieces. We should be the masterpieces of God's handiwork. There should be a light and a difference about us that is significant. Never underestimate the value of what God had done with you in your personal testimony. If you haven't done it recently, just go back and think what God has done in your life. And that's the thing, it'll amaze you what God has done. You are a trophy. You are a certificate-bearing child of God. That's the final point. And I've already touched on it, but I'm going to get out early. Your victories inspire other people. Think about that. David won. The Philistine fled. Israel picked up his armor, his sword, and they went out and they beat the enemy. Because one person said, "Why can't I?" And it happened. Sometimes we are very, very easily misled by, "I can't do this. Not me. Lord, who am I to do such things?" Lord, call somebody much more resourceful. Call someone much more in touch with you. Somebody more mature somebody more faith. We have 1,000,001 reasons why we can't do anything. And I take you back to Moses on Mount Sinai. Moses, I want you to go and do this thing. And Moses' response was, no, who am I? I can't speak. I'm a fugitive. He gave every reason for God not to use him. And folks, we do the same thing. There's a ministry. There's a need. Oh, Lord, boy, that's a real need, but that's not my thing. You know, I'm too busy. I've got other priorities. Until we get to the point where we say, yeah, why not me? Why not me? Why not me? Give somebody else the blessing, but I don't want them. Give somebody else the victories. I don't need them. I want to sit and do nothing. I want to get caught on with the humdrum existence of my life, and I'm just going to coast along until I die and I get to go to heaven. What kind of a life is that? It's a non-challenged life. You need to be challenged. I need to be challenged. Sometimes I sit back and, it's a Jet Ed speaking here. Sometimes I sit back and I think, well, Lord, I'm 75 years old. Surely you must be done with me. And then I keep thinking, well, that was then Moses messed the whole thing up because Moses was 80 years old. You realize it took God 80 years to get Moses where he was usable? And I'm sitting there thinking, do I have 5 more years of training before I become usable? Why not today? I have the resources by the Spirit. I have the vision by the Spirit. I have the challenge by the Spirit. I have the God who lives within me in His Spirit. I have everything within me by the grace of God to do great things for God. Why not me? And you know what? I really can't come up with a really good excuse to that one. I'd like to. I've got all these circumstances, but God said, I'll take care of it. You just do what you have to do. I'll open up the ways to help you get through these situations. Why not you? Why cannot we be a David in the face of a world of Goliaths? Why cannot we use the resources and win victories for our Lord in His power and in His strength? That's just a good challenge question. And if you can come up with a good reason why you can't do it, I'd love to hear it. I really would. Because folks, I'm going to be blunt with you here. There are times when I'm tired. There are times when I think, you know, Lord, I just can't do it anymore. Find somebody else. We can let Ed do it. We can let Matt do it. We can let Ed. The 3 Eds, those 2 Eds can do it. I'm retired. You see what I'm saying from here, folks? Why not us? Israel saw Goliath and they fled. David saw Goliath and he saw a victory in the Lord. Think about that one. We're going to have a time of, do a little different here. Since I'm we're just going to have a time of silent prayer and ask yourself the question, why not me? What could I be doing? What would God have me be doing? And why can't I do it?